I don't sit around calculating the political pluses and minuses of every little word I utter. I've just sort of tell people what I think makes sense, and I'm prepared to respect disagreements. I don't have any disagreements with these folks.
That is Mitch Daniels, the governor of Indiana, playing Mr. Nice Guy in the not yet presidential phase of the campaign.
You know what, and I'm sure, Rick, everybody's going to play nice back with him. Top Line starts right now.
Hello and welcome to ABC News Top Line. I'm Rick Klein.
And I'm Amy Walter.
Every day at noon Eastern, right here bringing you the latest in politics. We're always nice to each other. It's twitter.com/Rick Klein, twitter.com/Amy E. Walter. Amy, what has got your eye today?
Well, obviously, what's happening in Japan has all of our attention. And my top line today is nuclear meltdown. Obviously, the destruction of Japanese nuclear plants puts the focus back on energy policy here at home. Now, we're reminded by our own Jake Tapper that back in 2010, President Obama said new nuclear power plants were a necessity as he announced more than $8 billion in federal loan guarantees to build the first nuclear power plant in 3 decades. Rick, any chance we're going to see anything like that happen? I don't know, in the next, well, ever.
This president has the worst energy luck ever.
Yes.
I mean, you look at the nuclear issue, and of course, the offshore oil drilling just a month after that. So we're seeing a big squeeze on new ideas for energy. You're not going to do offshore drilling in the wake of BP in a significant new way. And nuclear energy, it's been 30 years since a new reactor, and maybe another 30.
It's all about wind and sun. But you know, if he did one of those, there would be some sort of sun problem, a sun flare.
Right?
Yes.
Next up today, it's Marco's Mark. Senator Marco Rubio of Florida is announced today that he's going to vote against the continuing resolution. And this is, Amy, what it means to be a Tea Party senator. We've been looking to see where he would begin to make a mark. And I think this is the first time that you see this new Tea Party freshman say, look, enough is enough on the spending. I don't feel good about this continuing resolution. His view will not prevail, but it is an important statement of principle, and you could see others follow. It
is very interesting, especially since we looked at somebody like Marco Rubio and said, you know, he kind of came from establishment credentials. Maybe once he gets to Washington, he'll be a team player. Not so much right now. All right, next up, Barber's Barbs. Before making his very first stop in the Hawkeye State tomorrow, the Mississippi governor heads to Obama's hometown today, where he'll give a speech at the Chicagoland Chamber of Commerce, in which he'll blame President Obama for, quote, the sluggish recovery. He'll also accuse him of enacting a series of policies that have, quote, created economic uncertainty or directly hurt the economy. Now, Haley Barbour is doing a lot, Rick, to increase his visibility these days. He seems to be everywhere. He's hiring staff. He's putting together the pieces of an operation. Most people expecting he's going to jump into this thing.
Yeah, and I think most people have that view. He's through the Midwest, going to Iowa, and I think with this, trying to make a proactive argument to try to pick a fight with President Obama. We're seeing some of the 24 hours begin to do that. And finally today, it's the shot heard round the world. Congresswoman Michelle Bachmann, who's mulling her own presidential campaign. She was in New Hampshire over the weekend. She had history on her mind. Take a look at what she said.
What I love about New Hampshire and what we have in common is our extreme love for liberty. You're the state where the shot was heard around the world at Lexington and Concord.
Actually, that was Massachusetts, which is fair to say. It's close to New Hampshire, so maybe they heard the shot.
And it all looks the same. And also, there is a Concord, New Hampshire.
Oh, there you go. You have it right here, some new history. We begin today's program up on Capitol Hill with Congressman Steve King, Republican of Iowa, and one of that important primary state as always. And Congressman, I want to start with the news out of Japan. You've been among those saying we need an all-of-the-above energy policy. We need more nuclear. Is there anything out of these events that are giving you pause, saying maybe we have to watch and look at how safe these things are?
Well, first of all, our hearts and our thoughts and prayers go out to the Japanese people. This tragedy is just mammoth proportions, and America will step up to support Japan. But I think this, that I'm not with Joe Lieberman on this, that we should put a freeze on what we do. But while this is going on, our people who are experts, the engineers who engineer and design these nuclear plants, those that can go back and go through the drawings and designs of the plants that are 40 years old and older, should, I think, be giving us their professional opinions as to the risks that we might have. That's where I would go with this, but I wouldn't, if I were the president, sign an executive order to freeze all construction of nuclear plants as the president froze all drilling in the Gulf Coast after the disaster down there. We need to move forward, but while we're moving forward, we can also do the analysis so that we're doing the prudent thing in the long term.
Congressman, I want to talk to you for a second about the budget battles going on in the House. You're circulating a letter right now with Congresswoman Bachmann saying that if we do not see in the continuing resolution a continuation of the, or actually being able to cut off the funds for the health care law implementation, that you will vote against this continuing resolution, the short-term budget fix. How many people do you have signed on right now, and how much support do you think you're going to get? Enough so that this might shut all talk down of a short-term budget deal?
You know, I actually don't know how many have signed on to the letter. I just got back into Washington after the weekend, and I haven't had a chance to check with my office and staff, which is where those responses are coming back to. But I've also told people that if you want your name confidential, we'll keep it confidential. If you want it published, you publish it. Here's the letter. I'm signing it. Michelle Bachmann has signed it. There are others who have done so. And it just says this, that we have a leverage point. And it is the funding for the government for the balance of fiscal year 2011. There are only two big leverage points along the way for the 112th Congress. The other one is the debt ceiling, which will be cluttered with all kinds of demands. This is the place to pitch the fight. And even though we may want to shut off the funding to implement Obamacare, there's $105.5 billion in automatic spending that was written into the bill. That goes on. And we must shut that off. That's what I tried to do in H.R. 1, the big CR that we debated for 90 hours. And we just simply must take this stand. I stood up before a conference last week and said, I'll not vote for another CR that has that funding in it, that doesn't shut off the funding to Obamacare. I've asked others to do the same. More and more are coming over to this position. We'll find out tomorrow.
But you know very clearly the White House would obviously veto any bill that looks like that. So if this is the demand on your side and that's the demand on that side, that would mean government shutdown. Is that worth the risk?
Well, first I'd say that the House should do the right thing. In fact, we must do the right thing. I sometimes catch members drifting into this dangerous territory of trying to tailor legislation that they surmise Harry Reid might bring out on the floor of the Senate, or that they surmise President Obama would sign. We need to put the House position out and fight for the House position. But we will, and we've demonstrated this in the House, that we will provide the resources necessary for the legitimate functions of government in a fiscally responsible fashion. We've done that. We've done that a second time now. So if this government is shut down, it wouldn't be the House that did so. It would be a proactive action on the part of either Harry Reid and the Democrats in the Senate or the President. And we should remember that Harry Reid really is the mouthpiece for the President right now. He is the firewall protecting the President from the responsibilities of this budget negotiations. If we shut off the funding to implement Obamacare and the Senate or the President refuses to go along with it, that is their decision, not ours. We need to take our stand.
Would a government shutdown?
Well, if I
would a
should just say,
government shutdown be that bad a scenario?
If essential services keep going, no, it wouldn't be. And I think that we'll be able to keep essential services going on. But the wedge issue is this: is the president, would he think that his signature issue is more important to him than all the functions of government? That's the question. And in the end, will the American people stand with us, or will they stand with Obamacare?
I also want to bring you for a moment here to politics. March 26th, your PAC is hosting a day-long conference in Iowa. Lots of hopefuls, White House hopefuls, going to be there. Who has the most to prove at this day-long conference?
Well, that's a very, very good question. As you were speaking of Haley Barbour a little earlier, he will be there along with a number of other presidential candidates. If I knew the answer to that, I probably couldn't answer it, because I want this to be a legitimate, open forum where we have an engagement over conservative ideas and issues in real serious debate, with hundreds and hundreds of activists there looking for a candidate that they can get behind and support. So this is an early jump start for the caucus process. And as I watch this, there's a lot of debate that has to take place before Iowa punches a ticket for 2 or 3 of these candidates to go to New Hampshire. And that's the object of this. Jim DeMint will keynote that night. And Phyllis Schlafly will be the honorary chair. We've got John Bolton, Ambassador Bolton will be there, as well as the presidential candidates. And so I am very much looking forward to it. It will be a really good day.
Back to the continuing resolution very briefly. We're talking about another 3-week extension. Is this any way to run things? I mean, didn't you hope to be doing better in your time with the Republicans in the majority than to be doing these 2-week, 3-week patches?
Well, we should remember that a budget wasn't passed by the 111th Congress, and that's why we're in this situation. If the Pelosi Congress had actually done their job, this funding would have all been laid out till the end of this fiscal year. I was a little surprised that they agreed to a CR in the lame duck session that got us to March 4th. Now we've kicked the can down the road to March 18th. No, it's not a way to run the government. We'll have to get this resolved before the last day of the 2011 fiscal year. And each one of these accelerates the pressure, and every time we get closer to another one, more and more members decide they're ready to draw the line and have that challenge with Harry Reid and the president.
All right, Congressman Steve King, Republican of Iowa, thanks for being here on Top Line. Really appreciate it.